Today's video, we are going to talk about one photo pages. Now, this is going to be a one-page layout. And then we're also going to talk about using smaller images on scrapbook pages because, as you know, a lot of Stampin' Up! Stamps, which I've started using lately, they're tiny images because they're meant for cards. So I'm going to show you how to make a big impact on your scrapbook layouts. So I've pulled out this brand new one for the books. This one will be available January 7th. It has some fun die cuts, so stay tuned on how to use those. I've also pulled out another one, Friends for Life, thinking I'm going to use the best friend in here. It's a die cut. And then I have this cute little puppy from one of my Close to My Heart stamps. Now, it is Get Well Soon, but I just loved this little puppy, so I'm going to try to use him. And of course, the photo of our daughter reading, and then our dog that just had to be by her constantly. And I've pulled out the Enjoy the Ride. I think the colors went really well. Even though this is around Christmas time, you can kind of tell by her pajamas. She's got the blue socks, she's got the red in her pajamas, and then the background of the photo is red. So I've pulled out this one because it mimics those colors. You can see that I've got a bunch of scraps in here. I'm going to try to use those up as well as the stickers and the die cuts. If any of this is still available, I'll leave links down below. Remember that this one is January 7th. Let me clear this stuff off, get some things cut, and we'll be right back. So the focal piece behind the photo is going to be a square, but it's going to have some diagonal pieces to it. So I have a square right here cut from some of the pattern paper and Enjoy the Ride, or from Enjoy the Ride. So I'm just going to put that in my trimmer, line up those corners, and go ahead and cut the diagonal. I'm going to save this one, and then this one is going to be scrap. So this is another square cut to the same size, and this is the one that is going to be on the bottom. I am just going to take a pencil and then lightly mark where this diagonal is, even though you could probably kind of see it. I'm going to move this just a little bit, that way you can't see my pencil line, but that's going to help me do some random stamping with those smaller images. So I love the books in this set. So I am getting a larger block. It's going to make random stamping a little bit easier. And that way I can put both of those images together. So we've got some stacked books laying down and then some books, kind of standing up. Let me move this one up just a little bit. And I am just going to ink these up using some black ink. So anytime I random stamp, I want to go off the page. So I am going to get a scratch piece of paper. And I also like to start in the middle of my page. And that way I should end up with the same top and bottom. I'm just going to ink this up. I'm going to start about right here. Actually, I'm going to kind of go off to begin with. And then I'm going to leave some space in between my next books. And I'm going to fill in those spaces with some of the smaller images from the set. So then when I come back, I'm going to stagger. So I'm going to come back here and I'm going to straddle this blank line. And then I'm going to leave some space. And then same thing over here. Now keep in mind that this is going to be covered up. And then I'm just going to repeat that process again, straddling the blank spot. And then just stamping above and below these books. So now I can come back in and there are some hearts, some little glasses, which in the photo she is wearing her glasses, so that one's going to be a cute one. And then I also have some images from this stamp set. I don't think I left enough room for the two hearts. without overlapping. Nope, I didn't. So I'm going to use this heart and those cute little glasses. Again, it's just easier if you stamp those together. So let's see. That probably is going to be perfect. Because I am lazy, or as some people say, because I just like to hurry up with these things, I am going to use the method of coloring in these images by using the back side of the stamps. And so how that works is you're actually going to put the detailed image closer to your block, and then the solid image will be what colors the books. Now, it's going to be a little bit off, but I want that kind of watercolor messy look. So you can see here, hopefully, that is the solid side. And I am using honey butter. And I'm not trying to be too thorough. So I'm just going to stamp that down. I'm going to look how this looks on this side since it's going to be covered up. And so I'm liking that. Again, not too careful. And don't you agree that just makes coloring so much easier than having to sit there and do that with either markers or pencils? Okay, so we've got that, and then as far as the heart goes, it is the same thing. I'm not going to do the glasses. If you can see, the glasses is just going to be a rectangle, so I'm not going to do those. In fact, let me go ahead and put the glasses back. But I am going to do the heart because the heart is still in a heart shape. So I've put the detailed image closer to my block. And I'm going to come in, and the tricky thing about this paper packet is it's a rosy is the color. It's a close to my heart color because this was a close to my heart designed scrapbook kit. But rosy is more of a pink. I don't think it really fits with the red. So I am going to bring in Candy Apple, and I'm going to do a second generation, and I hope that that kind of lightens up the red. Yes, so see how that's going to kind of play nicely with that color. So second generation just means I'm stamping off my project and then I'm stamping on it. Now you definitely could color these images if you would like. Like I said, I'm usually in and out of my craft room. Either we've got places to be, people to see, so on and so forth. So it's just easier for me to think of simple ways to do little bitty tedious things like coloring. So I've got that, and I actually think I'm going to leave the glasses plain. So remember when I told you that the die cuts for for the books are fun? It has this little tassel. And so I am going to cut some colors, some complementary colors, or coordinating colors rather, for this tassel. So I've got Rosy, Bluebird, and then Honey Butter. Shedding everywhere. And I like to cut multiple images, multiple sheets. Just when you're running it through, you might as well just one pass and then two pieces, if you will. So I'm going to stack these two on top of each other. I'm going to put this down. And then I'm going to run it through. And then I'm just going to repeat that process several times. I won't use them all for this, but why not go ahead and run some? These are kind of versatile colors. They're primary, so I can use them over and over again. So there is this little bitty circle in this die cut, and it is to create a hole in case you want to make a bookmark, since this is all about reading. So I have created this little bookmark. I'm going to decorate the front of it and then hide my journal on the other side, and it's going to be able to pull from there. And so I'm going to line up the straight edge to the top. It's a circle, so it doesn't really have to be straight, but I did want it centered. And I just have some low-tack tape that's used for this purpose. So I'm just going to tape this down right quick and then run this through my die cut machine. And then that way I can add ribbon and stuff through that little hole. I foresee a lot of people losing this little piece. So you definitely want to make sure you put it back on your magnetic carrier sheet. I'm going to speed up the rest of this video. Now, this is the coloring of this little puppy from that Close to My Heart stamp set, and I'm using the light yellow blend Spectrum Noir marker. And I've colored the circle light, and then with that medium shade, I'm coming back in and kind of outlining the puppy. And then I'm basically going to just do a thin outline with the dark, and I love that kind of shaded look. Now for the puppy itself, I'm using the Stampin' blends. These two markers actually come in one package. This is the ivory, and then the darker marker is the bronze, and that's what I am using for the spots. I am using the brush tip, which for those smaller pieces, I have trimmers real bad, and that was kind of hard to do, but all in all, I think he turned out adorable. I'm going to come back in with the ivory, kind of darken up those pieces. And then I am going to add some little marks to his nose using a white gel pen. I will also use this white gel pen on the rest of my layout as well. Now, he is going to go on this bookmark. I did want to use the elements of text. This is going to be a brand new stamp set that's available January 7th. And I am using some acorn ink, and I'm just going to stamp over that pink spot. And then that's just going to add some more dimension underneath that cute little puppy. Now, as far as the little tassels go, I'm going to separate. Remember, I cut the honey butter and the rosy together, so I'm just separating those. Hindsight, I want to let you know that on this little tassel, the cuts are so tiny that I probably would not run more than one cardstock through at a time. This rosy was the bottom cardstock, if you remember, and it just didn't really cut those ends as well as I wanted them to. I did end up taking my micro tip scissors and kind of forcing it in the end, but hindsight, I would have run those separately. So I'm just curving those around, and then I am getting some linen thread, and that is what I'm going to build the tassels on. So I'm just tying a knot, and then I am attaching that rosy cardstock with a micro glue dot around that knot, and I am just going to fold those around. Here is where I am realizing that that just didn't cut very well. So I am going to add some liquid adhesive. I am going to take my fingers and kind of try to separate those and clamp those down with some tweezers, just so that liquid adhesive will dry. It is quick drying, but I'm just going to try to separate those as much as I can with my finger, and then off camera, I do go ahead and cut some more with my micro tip scissors. Now, this honey butter is going to go on top of the rosy, and then the bluebird is going to go on top of the honey butter. So I'm just going to get those clamped down so those can be drying. Now, for these other two, I've decided to just thread that through that hole and then bring that down over that rosy cardstock. I am going to spread those ends. Sorry, I did that off camera, but I'm going to spread those ends so that rosy cardstock can go in. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the bluebird piece. just thread that through that hole, and then just get that down on top of that honey butter tassel. And I end up loving this cute little tassel. It is so cute. Close to My Heart did have a tassel a long time ago that I absolutely loved. And it's bigger, but I love these little micro ones. Now for the book, I'm just going to attach this little piece. These are the pages. And then there is this little pennant that can be a bookmark. So I have attached that. There are cuts in the book. So I was able to just feed that through one of the cuts, and then I'm going to take a micro glue dot and then just kind of adhere that down. And that's going to kind of add to the book here in just a second when I start decorating it. Now I am just adding liquid adhesive to the top friend. I should have done this through an adhesive sheet. It would have been a little bit better. Here is where my trimmers kind of make it hard, but I ended up kind of finagling down. It's not straight, but I still like it. It's got that blue pop behind that white title. And then I forgot to gather the eye before I threw it away. So I'm just using one of my smaller hole punches to punch one with white cardstock and then attaching that to that eye. Now I am going to thread this in. This is some ribbon that I had in my stash. It is Stampin' Up! Ribbon. And then I am just going to tie a knot with this little tassel that I have. And I'm going to tie a couple of knots and then actually use the two ends to tie a knot, the linen thread. And then I'm going to keep a loop. I think in the end, you'll see it here in the close-ups, but I love the look of the tassels hanging down, and then that linen thread has a loop in it. And then I'll also trim that ribbon as well. So I'm going to bring out my layout and start assembling it. Now, before I do that, because this is rosy cardstock, believe it or not, I don't have any in my stash. So I am going to gut this just in case I want to map my photo or use it for some other layouts. I've already used the cardstock that came with this scrapbook kit, so I kind of need to conserve as much as I can. I'm going to attach my white base on top of that rosy cardstock, and then I'm going to come in with my square. Now I am attaching this little book in the diagonal to a bluebird piece of cardstock, and I think it's going to pop a little bit more, and I'm going to center this onto that white daisy prepared base. Now for my picture, I'm going to hide this journaling. So I have just added some 3D foam tape to the back of this photo and then made sure that I had a little cross piece that wouldn't allow that journaling to slip all the way to the bottom. And I am liking how that is looking. Now, as far as the title, I had the best, and I decided to go with the second generation of the candy apple that kind of matched the hearts. And then I'm going to build this book. I am liking that heart. Remember, those are the hearts from the Best Friend stamp set, or the Friends for Life. And I'm just going to attach some 3D foam or some dimensions to the back of that heart. And then, of course, my little bookmark fell out, so I'm going to just feed that back through and add some dimensionals on top of that, and that will take care of that being stuck down. Now, some of that book is going to overlap my photo, so I did not add dimensionals on the side that does. And then I am going to just kind of cut around the edges of this dimensional sheet to add some dimension to the friends. Again, part of that will be on top of the photo, so I'm only adding dimension to the letters that hang off. Now, I've discussed this before, but a lot of times when you have photos that have empty spaces, this is the perfect opportunity to use those empty spaces for either a title, like I'm going to do on the right, or an element, like embellishments that I'm going to do on the left. And I will come back and I'll add something near that book here in just a second. So I'm just peeling away the backing of these dimensionals, and then I'm going to attach that friend right there. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do the same with the best. I am starting with the T because I want that T to kind of be nestled into that D. And then I am just going to lay out these letters. And I had already put dimensionals on that B, so it's actually double dimensioned, if you will, since it's on that photo. So the Elements of Text also has a paint splatter, and y'all know I love paint splatter. So I am using one that is kind of elongated and has a corner look to it, and I am inking that up with some black ink. I do end up messing up right here, but I'm going to show you how to fix it here in just a second. I've decided only to do the top left and the bottom right corner, and then I am going to come in with one of the Stampin' Right, the black marker or pen, and I'm going to add just doodle lines all around that bluebird cardstock. And then that's just going to kind of get nestled into that stamped splatter, and it's going to make it look like it was just meant to be. You can also tell that I'm adding kind of 3 little hatch marks here and there in between the straight lines. That's just going to add just that extra little detail as well. Now I have this sandpaper eraser. I got this idea from my friend Jama. I'm sure if you follow me, you also follow her. And it takes a while, but what it's doing is it's actually sanding down that cardstock, and so it removes the ink. You can tell a little bit that it was there, but I think that if y'all hadn't seen this video, it would be really hard to tell that I made a little oopsie there. So keep that in mind, and I'll link that sandpaper eraser down below. So I am taking this Stampin' Right marker, and I'm actually writing on the spine. I just felt like this little book, even though it is so cute, I felt like it was real plain. So I have added a title of the book called Pets Equal Love. I thought that was a nice little play. And then I'm also going to add some little doodle dots around the book. And then I'm also going to come in and add doodle dots all around that random stamping that I did. I just love the look of doodle dots. And again, it just fills in the empty spaces real nice. So I'm going to put my bookmark back in, and then I'm going to start looking at the sticker sheet. And the sticker sheet had this wonderful on there. And then I think that something needs to be in the top right corner. So I'm kind of playing with some stickers here. And then all of a sudden I have an idea. There's this little pennant that's with the honey butter. So I'm going to pull out my cutter, and I'm just going to cut this little pennant in half. And then just in case I don't like that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut one of these border stickers at the bottom. I'm going to cut it in half too. And I have cut that at a 4-inch length, and then I'm just going to trim that off with my scissors. So I am just kind of playing with these colors and trying to decide if I want the honey butter or that paprika color, and I end up liking both of them. So I've put the honey butter on top of the white daisy, and right here I'm trying to separate the backing from this piece that I cut off. I end up getting that done, and I will fix that one that I separated the backing from. And that goes really nicely onto that rosy cardstock. So I'm going to repeat that in the left corner, and I think that these two elements really capped that off nicely. I am going to come back in with just 2 hearts. Remember, these were the smaller hearts that were cut from the Friends of Life. And I'm going to put those right here by my title. And then I am going to add some of that white gel pen to those as well. I did on top of that heart on the book as well. And I really like that. It just kind of finishes those off because they were so cardstocky, if that makes sense. So I've trimmed the ribbon on that tag, and then I am going to cut one of the images from the For the Books. This says Story of Us, and it's meant to be a title on the book, you know, where I put the heart, but I've cut that. Don't be afraid to cut your stamps. And I'm just going to stamp that up at the top. I loved this little kind of subtitle to this page because my journaling definitely will have to do with the story of these 2 inseparable best friends, where anytime my daughter is on the floor, our dog just has to be by her. So I'm going to add some doodle lines. They're not really doodle, but I'm going to hand draw some lines to kind of separate those 2 stickers, and then some doodle dots on each side of the story of us. And then I'm going to go ahead and handwrite my journaling. I was going to draw some lines, but decided in the end just to kind of go for it. So I'm going to handwrite this journaling, and then I can get that tucked back in and it will be hidden nicely. Here is a look at that layout. I love this little hidden journaling on the tag, as well as the doodle dots, and then that coloring of the stamp using the back side of the stamp, and then that splatter and all the little doodle dots, the layout, title, everything. Here are some individual looks at this layout. Remember that I will link anything that I use that's available down below. Some of these won't be available till January 7th, so make sure you check back on my website to grab those before they sell out. I really think that some of these things are going to sell out before they are restocked. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your weekend.